So catch Indian fever, be a believer with the Cleveland Indians.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the November 8th, 2018 Lake County Sentinel Podcast. I hope everyone is having a good night. Tonight's podcast is a half hour, as it is on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We'll spend 15 minutes talking sports, and then we'll spend the final 15 talking politics and some of the news of the day. Let's get right to it. Right now, there are rumors in Cleveland and throughout baseball that the Indians are talking to the New York Yankees about trading Corey Kluber and Carlos Carrasco. To me, this is ridiculous. I don't think it'll happen, but if it does happen, the Indians better get a lot back in return. Especially if they trade, they better get a lot back in return if they trade Corey Kluber. I don't think they should even consider trading Carlos Carrasco. Carlos Carrasco, I don't think has reached his potential yet. Kluber, he's getting older. So I would entertain trades for Corey Kluber. Is he washed up? By no means. Has he reached his peak? I think maybe he has. Excuse me, but that's to be determined. But you can't trade these guys for nothing. You have to get a bundle in return, especially if you're trading Corey Kluber. You have to get a bundle. You got to make the Yankees pay. I'm sick of the Yankees getting whoever they want and not paying a large price for it. They pay minimum, sometimes below minimum. If that makes any sense, it really doesn't. But when it comes to the Yankees making trades, it does, because last year with Giancarlo Stanton, who did they give up? Some minor league prospects. It's ridiculous. You seem to get whoever they want. It's time. If a team's going to trade with the Yankees, especially if the Indians are going to trade Corey Kluber to the New York Yankees, they need to get a bundle in return. I mean, Corey Kluber has won 83 games for the Indians in the last 5 years. There's a reason the Yankees want him. Okay? There's a reason they want him. He's averaged 17 wins a year for the last 5 years. That's not chump change. So if the Indians are going to make a trade with the Yankees and they're going to give up Corey Kluber, they better get something for him. And this is who I think they should get. If they're going to trade Corey Kluber to the Yankees, they have to just say to the Yankees, this is what we want. If you can't give us this, then we are not making the trade. We want your 2 top minor league prospects, and we want 2 of these 3 guys. Clint Frazier, Justice Sheffield, or Miguel Andujar. That's it. If they won't give that up, those 2 of those 3 guys and their 2 top prospects, you don't make the trade. You don't make the trade. You play hardball with the New York Yankees and make them pay the price for raiding teams' rosters always. Don't give in to them. Don't be their minor league organization. It's not right that teams do this every year. And if you're going to trade Carlos Carrasco to them, which I don't think should happen, if he's the other option, if the Kluber deal goes through, you tell him this. I want your top prospect, and I want Andujar and Clint Frazier. That's it. And if they don't like it, then you don't trade them to them. That's it. You play hardball with them. Time to play hardball with the New York Yankees. Time to do it. Play hardball with them. Make them pay up for once. Okay? Make them pay up because it's wrong that they don't pay. So that's my opinion on the Indians, those trade rumors right now. The next subject is 25 years ago today, Bill Belichick and Art Modell released Browns quarterback Bernie Kosar. And Cleveland went into a frenzy. You have to remember, the Indians still weren't a very good franchise. They were starting to get there, but they weren't good yet. The Cavs were getting near the end of the Brad Daugherty, Mark Price, Larry Nance run. And the Browns were king, as they have been most of the time, which I don't understand, but they were. And Bernie Kosar was well loved. He was the hometown guy, the guy who grew up as a Browns fan when he was a kid. And then, he was a supplemental pick. He became the starting quarterback in his rookie season. And then, out of nowhere, Bill Belichick and Art Modell decide, well, they got to release him. Diminishing skills was Bill Belichick's excuse for releasing Bernie Kosar on that day. And, there's a lot of people that will say there was probably more behind it. I've heard there was probably more behind it. But, no one knows for sure. Some people said that Bernie was hard to work with. Well, maybe he was. I don't know. But he was still well loved in Cleveland, and people were not happy about it. And I remember that day clearly. I remember exactly where I was standing when I heard the news. And I just was like, wow, I can't believe that. And the fact that we're going to make Vinny Testaverde the starting quarterback. And at that point, Vinny Testaverde had signed with the team that year, but prior to that, he had been the Buccaneers quarterback. And I was like, really, this guy? I'm a Buccaneers fan. And I was like, this guy's horrible. He's a horrible quarterback. The Browns, he's going to be the Browns quarterback over Bernie Kosar? Are you kidding me? Well, I guess in some ways it turned out to be a good move because Testaverde lasted a long time in the NFL. And Kosar was never a regular starting quarterback again. Did he start a couple games after that? Yeah. But he was never a team's starting quarterback again. So, maybe they were right, but I'll tell you what, the city of Cleveland was not happy. Fans were not happy when that happened. It was a crazy day in Cleveland sports on November 8th, 1993, when Bernie Kosar got released. I remember I was pretty upset. I was pretty angry. I was like, I don't know how he could do this, but, he's made some good decisions since then when it comes to starting quarterbacks. So maybe he knew what he was talking about, and the rest of us were just fans. So the next segment we're going to go to fantasy sports. And what should you do in the NFL this week? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. As any week, I'm going to play Pat Mahomes, because I don't care what defense he plays. He does pretty well. I would play running backs against the Browns defense right now. I would play running backs against Tampa Bay's defense right now. I would probably even play, teams that have passing offenses against the Browns and the Buccaneers right now still. The Browns have injuries. The Buccaneers have had injuries all year, but they just can't stop anybody on defense. So, they're playing Washington this week. I think Alex Smith could have a big week for the Redskins. But I also think Ryan Fitzpatrick will have a big week for the Buccaneers. He's done, he's had a big year. He can, throw the ball. The Buccaneers are hurt at running back. If you have Peyton Barber or Thomas Jones on your fantasy teams, I would not count on them playing this week. They're not going to play probably. Barber might play a little, but not much. I think Jaquiz Rogers, if you just need a pickup because you need a running back, he's going to be the Buccaneers running back probably this week, primary running back. Obviously, the 49ers Giants game, I would pick up maybe some 49ers defensive players if you're in a league that has individual defensive players, because that could do well for you. Plus, or if you have a 49ers team defense, that will probably do well for you this week because the Giants offense is just horrible. I guess that's pretty much in the NFL. What I don't think that there's a lot you could do probably at this point. I mean, most people's teams are set. I mean, we're in the 10th week. We're in the 10th week, and if you're looking for players now, if you need an impact player now in the 10th week, you might be in trouble. But I mean, there's always guys out there. I'll tell you what, a receiver that might be, and I know I'm talking Browns and Buccaneers a lot here, but I'll tell you, a Buccaneers receiver that is out there probably that people don't realize is Adam Humphries. He returns kicks for the Buccaneers, and he's a lot of times he's the third option in Tampa. They like to pass the ball, so even if they're the third or fourth option in their offense, you can rack up the points. So I definitely would take a look at him as your third receiver if you're in a league with three receivers, or if you have the receiver, running back, tight end position open and you need somebody. He's a guy to take a look at this point. Is he going to get you a huge amount of points? Probably not, but he'll fill in nicely for you, and he has the ability to have a big play once in a while. I think that it's hard to find players at this time of year in fantasy football. It just is. I think it's just difficult because we're nearing the end of the season. We're past the midway point. A lot of teams have had byes. There's a lot of injuries, so teams have picked up players. So that's tough. It could be difficult at this point. My advice for you, if you're in a hockey league, is goalies matter. I get told all the time that goalies don't matter. But look, I won the championship in my league last year because of goalkeepers. Solely because of goalkeepers. That's what you do is you win like 5 or 6. If you're in a league that has 12 categories, you can win 5 or 6 categories with goalkeepers. Okay? So I think that's a key. Picking up goalkeepers in hockey. It's a huge key. And if you do that, there's a good chance that you can win if you focus on goalkeepers. Believe it or not. You win 1 or 2 other categories, you win the week. Or if you're in a league where it just goes by categories and nobody wins or loses the week, well, you're going to be over 500 for the week. That's going to get you in the playoffs at the end of the year. I think it's a good philosophy. At least that's my philosophy. So that's the end of the sports portion of our show tonight. We'll be back in 30 seconds for the news and politics portion of our show. back to the Lake County Sentinel Podcast for Thursday, November 8th, 2018. We've just finished our sports segment, talked about the Indians and trade rumors, Bernie Kosar anniversary of him being released, and fantasy sports. Now, we're going to talk about some news and politics of the day. And we're going to start with the shooting in California, where there are 12 dead tonight in Thousand Oaks in a country western bar on college night. A armed gunman, obviously, rushed in and used a Glock to gun down 12 people, including a heroic police officer, Ron Heelis, who was talking to his wife on the phone when he got the call, and he told her he had to go, and that would be the last time he talked to his wife. Because as a hero, he charged into the shooting, attempting to save lives, and he lost his own life. As did 11 other people. As one of the survivors said, these were all young people. Now they're gone. The heartbreaking video of the father talking about his son who was killed. He didn't know if his son was killed. He had waited all night. And then he found out early this afternoon that his son had indeed died. Cody Cochran was his name. Head of the umpires, baseball umpires in his town. A young guy. Everything to live for. Whole life ahead of him. Cody Cochran. By all accounts, a good young man. He's dead. Dead. Because of guns. And maybe not enough being done for war veterans. When they come back. Mental problems for what they see over in war. Sounds like that could be the case here. We don't know for sure, but it sounds like that's one of the possibilities here of why he did it. But if he had some mental issues, why do you have a gun? Why could he have a gun? Why are you going to give somebody with a mental problem a gun? It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why you're going to give a person who has some mental problems a weapon, like a gun. A gun has one purpose: to end a life. One. When I hear people talk about, well, knives, should we ban knives? People have been stabbed. Well, no, there's many purposes for knives. To cut things, to spread butter on a piece of bread. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use a handgun to spread butter on bread or peanut butter. I only know one reason for a gun, and that's to kill. And some will say, oh, it's too soon to... No, it's not too soon to talk about this. It is not too... This is the right time to talk about it. Because something needs to be done. seeing that man talk on the news about his firstborn son dying in the shooting is heartbreaking. Watching the video of this man talking and crying how much he loved his son. No one will ever know how much I loved my son, he said. He was comforted by the fact that he feels his son knew how much he loved him. But it was heartbreaking seeing this man cry. It was heartbreaking looking across the living room at my son who was watching the video, and my son crying. It's tough. Think of it, people. Those of you that have children, how much do you love your children? I know how much you love your children because I know how much I love mine. Think of the pain that man is going through because a person with mental illness was able to get a gun. He was able to get a gun. He had gotten, the police knew about this guy, but he was still able to get a gun. They'd been called to his house, but he was still able to have a gun. No problem. And the people who say arm everyone, that is such a false narrative. That is, the NRA loves you. But how many times does an armed person have to be in the building with one of these shooters and they're killed too? All right? You want everybody in that bar? They're drinking alcohol. You want everybody in that bar armed with firearms? Are you kidding me? These are college students who were in that bar drinking. Do you really think that it would have been a good idea for all of them to have weapons? That's insane. That's insane. If you think that's a good idea, if you think that would have helped last night to have however many people were in that bar at that time drinking alcohol, if you think they should have been armed, that's crazy. Let's give weapons to drunks in a bar. No, not everybody was drunk in that bar. True. But, I don't think I want to be around somebody who's drinking and had too much to drink and they have a weapon. Kind of crazy if you ask me. So that's my stance on this horrible shooting in Thousand Oaks, California. And there's got to be something done with guns. And no, I don't want to take everyone's guns away, but we have to keep weapons out of, or at least try to keep weapons out of mentally ill people's hands. And don't give me the argument, oh, they'll get them anyway. Well, you might cut down some of them getting them, and that might stop a shooting like this. So don't give me that idea they'll get them anyway, because they won't always get them anyway. If there's laws, it might stop one or two from trying to do it. If it saves one life, it's worth it. Let's move on now. Move on to CNN senior White House correspondent Jim Acosta losing his press credential because Donnie Trump doesn't like him. And what a bunch of hypocrites they are in the White House. Complete and total hypocrites they are in the White House. And I'll tell you why. They're complete and total hypocrites. Many levels. Donald Trump insults and treats people badly on a daily basis. Before he was president and now as president. But apparently that's okay. You know, he went ballistic on Jim Acosta yesterday, telling him that, you should be ashamed of yourself. You treat people badly. You treat Sarah Huckabee Sanders badly. Well, you know what? She treats people badly. Sarah Sanders treats people badly. She's one of the most belligerent press secretaries I've ever seen. I've never seen a press secretary as belligerent as her. So don't say that he treats her badly because she treats people badly. But Donald Trump should never say somebody treats somebody badly. He's one of the worst people in the world. He treats people badly all the time, every day. When he's talking to the media or on Twitter. The things he says about people on Twitter, are you kidding me? And he's going to go and tell Jim Acosta he treats people badly? And then they try to say that Jim Acosta lost the press credential, excuse me, because he touched the intern. No, if you watch the video, the intern brushed his arm while trying to grab the microphone from him. I understand she was doing her job, but she brushed into his arm. He did not touch her. She brushed him. And this is another thing. Coming from Donald Trump, accusing someone else of touching a woman inappropriately? Are you kidding me? Grab their you-know-what? He's on tape saying it. Well, I guess Jim Acosta isn't wealthy enough to be able to do it. Jim Acosta is not even wealthy enough to have his arm brushed by the woman. He did not touch the woman. She brushed his arm. Saw the video, was watching it live. But Donald Trump, the king abuser, has no problem revoking somebody's press credential for nothing when he's done much worse. Much, much worse. Don't worry, Jim Acosta will get his press credential back because the White House is going to get a lot of flack for this. This will not go away. It will not go away. He'll get his press credential back. He may have to wait a while, but he'll get it back. And Jim, I know where you stand because this has happened to me before. I've lost my press credential because the person in charge didn't like me or like what I said. But that's another story, and that situation was resolved. So, but it's wrong. This is wrong. This is taking away our democracy. When you are standing in the way of the freedom of the press, you are hindering democracy. We've got all of these Trump people that say they love the Constitution, but they only love the parts of the Constitution that are the ones that benefit them, the Second Amendment. That's all they care about. They don't care about any other part of the Constitution. If they do, they're lying to you. But you know what? We run out of time. That's the end of our show for tonight. We will be back tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Until then, take care of yourself and have a good night. I'm Tim Shirer.